I never thought something as simple as a mailbox could start a war. But in my neighborhood, even the smallest things seemed to invite drama. It all began about 6 months ago, just after I moved into what I thought was a peaceful, quiet suburb. Nice lawns, friendly waves, the usual sounds of sprinklers and distant lawnmowers. On the surface it looked like paradise. But just like any good story, there was a twist. The first time it happened, I thought it was an accident. I came home from work, tired, carrying groceries, and I noticed it right away. My mailbox door was bent backward. The hinge was cracked. It looked like someone had yanked it open with too much force. I stood there staring at it, confused. Maybe a kid was messing around? Maybe the mailman slipped? Accidents happen, right? I fixed it with some tools I had in the garage. Bent the metal back into shape. Tightened the screws. No big deal. But then, 2 days later, it happened again. This time the whole thing was tilted. Like someone had kicked the base. Still, I didn't want to jump to conclusions. Maybe it was just bad luck. Maybe the wind? A delivery driver backing up? Something dumb and random. But then came the note. Folded in half and stuffed into the cracked opening of the mailbox. No envelope. No name. Just a folded piece of paper with sharp handwriting that read, "Your mailbox is not HOA compliant. Fix it or remove it." No, hello, no signature. Nothing. Now, I hadn't had much interaction with the HOA since moving in. Just the standard welcome packet and a list of guidelines that nobody really reads word for word. But my mailbox? It was brand new when I moved in. Nothing fancy. Black, simple, secure. Standard height. Exactly what you'd expect in any neighborhood. So I started asking around. My neighbor across the street, Sam, shook his head when I mentioned the note. "Oh no. You got a Karen note?" he said like I'd just received a curse. That's when I first heard about her. The HOA board member who took her role way too seriously. Not just enforcing rules but inventing them. She'd sent notices for things like wind chimes being too loud, garden gnomes being tacky, and trash cans being out 5 minutes too early. Her name wasn't really Karen. But you know the type. According to Sam, she lived just 2 houses down from mine. Red shutters. Perfect hedges. Always watching. Always ready to strike. That same evening I walked by her house and noticed the glare. From her window. Just a sliver of her face. Watching. Pretending not to. I waved. She didn't wave back. The next morning my mailbox was destroyed. This time it wasn't just bent or tilted. It was completely ripped off the post. Thrown onto my lawn like trash. The screws were scattered on the sidewalk. The post was splintered. Whoever did it wasn't trying to be subtle. This was deliberate. I stood there holding my coffee, heart pounding. Who does this? What? Over a mailbox? I filed a report with the HOA. Got a generic reply saying they'd look into it. That was it. Nothing else. No apology. No action. It didn't take a genius to figure out why. She was on the board. I replaced the mailbox. This time with a sturdier one. Thicker metal. A proper foundation. I even checked the HOA guidelines myself. It followed every rule. Every measurement. Every material type. And yet, it didn't stop. A week later it was spray painted. Big red letters across the side. Remove it. Not even subtle anymore. Just pure spite. I wish I could say I kept calm. That I didn't let it get to me. But the truth is I was furious. Violated. I had never done anything to this woman. Never even spoken to her. I was just living my life. But to her I was clearly some kind of threat. A mailbox that didn't match her perfect little vision. I bought a camera. Set it up across the street on my friend's porch. It had a clear view of the sidewalk and the mailbox. I waited. For 3 nights nothing happened. Then on the 4th night around 2 a.m. she showed up. Wearing black. Hoodie on. Gloves. Like she was in some kind of cheap movie. She crept up to the mailbox, looked around, and started yanking at it with both hands. It didn't budge this time. She got frustrated. Kicked it. Slammed it with what looked like a wrench. And the camera caught it all. I couldn't believe it. She looked unhinged. All this rage, for a mailbox. I sent the footage to the HOA. No response. Sent it again. Still nothing. Finally I got a reply. We encourage neighbors to resolve disputes civilly and respectfully. That was it. No consequences. No accountability. At that moment I realized something. This wasn't just about a mailbox. It was about control. She was used to people backing down. Letting her dictate what they could or couldn't do. I wasn't going to be one of them. That night I sat down and started planning. Not to fight with fists or rage but to fight smart. If she wanted to play dirty, I'd answer in a way she didn't expect. I wasn't just going to replace the mailbox again. I was going to upgrade it to something she'd never forget. Because this time it wouldn't be just a mailbox. It would be a message, one she couldn't ignore, and one that would finally make her stop. I stared at the footage on my laptop again and again. Her face. Her hands gripping the edge of the mailbox like it had insulted her. The way she looked around, waiting for a sign that she was being watched. I watched the clip so many times I memorized every movement. The way she flinched when the wrench slipped. The little growl of frustration under her breath. She wasn't just trying to remove the mailbox. She was trying to erase it. She wanted control. And for the first time, I understood what made her dangerous. She wasn't just some cranky neighbor. She had the HOA in her pocket. She thought she was untouchable. A queen ruling a tiny kingdom of lawns, mailboxes, and petty rules. But she made one mistake. She picked the wrong mailbox to mess with. I spent the next few nights researching everything I could. I wasn't looking for revenge, not in the traditional sense. I wasn't about to do anything illegal or aggressive. That would only give her ammunition. No, I needed something smarter. Something creative. Something that sent a message without crossing the line. Mailboxes, it turns out, are a lot more interesting than you'd expect. There are entire forums online where people share their custom builds, reinforced posts, locking doors, anti-theft designs, even creative art projects. But the ones that caught my eye were the indestructible ones. Made from solid steel. Anchored deep into the ground with concrete. Unmovable. Tamper-proof. Legal but tough. That was the first step. But I wanted more than strength. I wanted accountability. I dug deeper into surveillance options. Hidden cameras. Motion sensors. Devices that activated the moment someone got too close. And then I found it, a solar-powered, motion-triggered camera disguised as a decorative light. Weatherproof. Silent. Crystal clear video even at night. No Wi-Fi needed. It recorded directly onto a hidden SD card. Perfect. But even that didn't feel like enough. I didn't want just to catch her again. I wanted her to feel caught. There's a difference. That's when I remembered an old prank video I saw years ago. Someone had rigged a glitter bomb inside a package to catch porch pirates. It was harmless but effective. A glitter explosion, a loud sound, flashing lights. The kind of thing that doesn't hurt but absolutely makes you regret your choices. I knew I couldn't use explosives or anything risky. But I could build something that responded. Something legal. Something funny. Something that gave her a taste of her own medicine. I went to the hardware store with a full list. A new steel mailbox. Reinforced base. Locking door. Spray paint to make it look normal. A hidden latch system. A motion-activated alarm with a recorded voice message. It took a lot of trial and error, but eventually I had it all figured out. The alarm wasn't loud enough to scare the whole street. Just enough to startle her. And the voice? I recorded it myself. You are being recorded. Step away from the mailbox. Simple. Firm. Robotic. Creepy enough to freeze someone mid-action. I spent an entire weekend building the setup. Poured a new concrete base. Installed the mailbox with security bolts. Wired in the alarm and motion sensor. Hid the camera behind a tiny slat in the support post. Every part of it looked normal to the untrained eye. But it wasn't normal. It was a trap. On the outside it looked like your everyday mailbox. On the inside it was the most advanced thing on the street. And every piece of it was legal. I even triple-checked the HOA rules again. Measurements? Correct. Color? Approved. Placement? Exact. I was ready. Now all I had to do was wait. The first few days were quiet. I checked the camera footage every morning like a routine. Just neighbors walking dogs, joggers going by, cars driving past. Nothing unusual. I even started to think maybe she'd gotten the message. Maybe the silence meant she was done. But I was wrong. It happened on the fifth night. 1:17 a.m. The motion sensor activated. The camera started recording. The alarm clicked into place. She walked into frame slowly, wearing the same hoodie from before. She paused in front of the mailbox and looked around, same routine. Then she reached for it. Tugged once. Then again. Then harder. That's when the alarm triggered. You are being recorded. Step away from the mailbox. She jumped back like she'd been shocked. Her hands flew up. She looked around in a panic, scanning the street. The camera caught everything. Her face. Her confusion. Her fear. And then she ran. Not walked. Ran. Across the lawn, down the sidewalk, and out of sight. I didn't laugh. Not at first. I just sat there watching it all in silence. Not because I was scared. But because it finally felt like I had control again. She had been tormenting me for weeks, maybe even longer. wrecking property, leaving notes, pushing her power through fake rules and silence. And now she ran. From a mailbox. The next morning, everything was still in place. Untouched. My mailbox stood proudly at the edge of the lawn. No paint. No scratches. No dents. But what really caught my eye was what wasn't there. No note. For the first time in weeks, no message had been left. No threat. No warning. I checked the footage again just to be sure. Watched her expression frame by frame. You could see the moment it hit her. That cold flush of being caught. That panic when you realize someone is smarter than you thought. She didn't just feel embarrassed. She felt exposed. I didn't post the video online. I didn't share it with neighbors. This wasn't about humiliation. It was about proof. Control once again had shifted. I saved the video. Backed it up twice. One copy on my computer. One on a USB. Just in case. And then I waited. I thought maybe she'd retaliate. Try to escalate. Call the HOA and make some new complaint. But nothing happened. Not a whisper. Not a warning letter. Not even a dirty look from her window. It was quiet. Almost too quiet. But I didn't let my guard down. Because deep down, I knew Karen wasn't finished. Not yet. The days after that night felt strange. The kind of strange where you know something's changed but you can't quite put your finger on it. I kept checking the mailbox every morning. It was still there, still standing strong without a scratch or a single mark. No signs of her usual anger or destruction. No spray paint, no dents. Nothing. It almost felt like victory. But I wasn't celebrating yet. Because deep down I knew Karen. She wasn't the type to just walk away quietly. No. She was a storm waiting to explode. And sure enough, one evening about a week after the alarm incident, it happened. I came home from work and saw a small crowd gathered near the HOA clubhouse. Curious, I parked and walked over, pretending to be casual. It was a mix of neighbors whispering, some pointing, others just shaking their heads. Then I overheard the whispers. Did you hear about Karen? She's in trouble now. The HOA board is meeting about her. My heart pounded. I had no idea what was going on, but I wanted to know. I asked one of the neighbors what had happened. Apparently, someone had filed an official complaint against Karen. Accusations of harassment, vandalism, and intimidation. The footage from my mailbox had leaked. Someone had seen it. Maybe a neighbor, maybe even someone on the HOA board. And suddenly the Karen everyone feared was on the defensive. But I wasn't the one who leaked it. I stayed quiet. I wanted her downfall to come from truth and evidence, not drama. The next HOA meeting was packed. I stayed home, watching from a distance, imagining what must have been said. I imagined the looks on the faces of the other board members, surprised, maybe even scared. Karen had always been the one calling the shots, but now, for the first time, she was the one on trial. A few days later, I received an unexpected letter. It wasn't from the HOA but from the local police department. They wanted to talk. The complaint against Karen had escalated. Vandalism was no longer just a HOA issue, it was a crime. I wasn't sure if they wanted to question me as a witness or if they had other reasons. I called the officer listed on the letter and scheduled a meeting. When I arrived at the station, I was nervous but ready. The officer was straightforward. She told me the HOA board was under pressure from residents and local authorities. My footage was key evidence. Karen was being investigated. I felt a strange mix of relief and guilt. Relief that justice might finally be done. Guilt because, deep down, I hadn't wanted it to get this far. I just wanted peace. After the meeting, I walked out into the bright sunlight and felt something shift inside me. It was like the weight of weeks, maybe months, had been lifted. But the story wasn't over. Because Karen wasn't done fighting either. About a week later, I got a knock on my door late at night. I wasn't expecting anyone. I looked through the peephole and saw her silhouette standing there, arms crossed, eyes blazing. I didn't open the door. Instead, I spoke through it. What do you want? Her voice was cold but quiet. You think you've won? This isn't over. I wanted to say something sharp, but I held back. I didn't want to give her the satisfaction of a reaction. She left after a minute, but I could feel her gaze burning through the door long after she was gone. From that night on, I knew she was watching me even more closely. Every trip outside felt like walking on a tightrope. Then came the small, subtle acts of sabotage. One morning, I found the tires on my car slightly deflated. Not flat, just low enough to be annoying. Another day, my garden hose was twisted and leaking. Then, a week later, my recycling bins were knocked over. Nothing that could be blamed on coincidence. It was her way of reminding me she was still there, still in control. But this time I was ready. I installed more cameras. I got a smart doorbell that sent alerts to my phone. I kept a journal of everything suspicious. Every incident, no matter how small. One night, around midnight, my phone buzzed. The doorbell camera detected motion. I looked through the live feed and saw her again. Standing just outside my front gate, looking around nervously. But this time, something was different. She wasn't sneaking around. She wasn't trying to be quiet. She was defiant. She stared straight into the camera and gave me the middle finger. A wave of emotions hit me, anger, frustration, but also a strange sense of satisfaction. She was mad. She was scared. She was losing control. I saved the video just like before. This time I shared it with the HOA and the local police. And that was the final straw. Within days, Karen was removed from the HOA board. Officially. She was given a stern warning not to come near my property or harass me in any way. The police told me to call immediately if anything else happened. For the first time in months, I felt safe again. But it wasn't just about safety. It was about standing up. About not letting fear or intimidation win. Every time I looked at my mailbox, standing tall and untouched, I felt a quiet pride. It wasn't just a box for letters and bills anymore. It was a symbol. A symbol of resilience. Of smart fighting. Of refusing to be pushed around. And maybe, just maybe, it was a message to anyone else who thought they could tear down what's rightfully yours with a note and a wrench. Because sometimes, the smallest things can start the biggest battles. And sometimes, the best battles are the ones you fight without ever throwing a punch.